You know, it's kind of wild to think about, but can you imagine a time when like 14,000 workers every year were dying or getting seriously hurt on the job?
Wow.
And there were like basically no federal safety rules?
Yeah.
That was actually a reality in the US before 1970.
Really?
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So today we're going to dive into what changed everything.
Yeah.
The Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970
Okay.
and the birth of OSHA in 1971.
Gotcha.
Really, it's like understanding the foundation of workplace safety for like almost every single job in America.
Interesting.
The sources we've got lay out the whole history of this thing, like how it all works, what its mission is, the whole 9 yards.
Cool.
So looking back at those pre-1970 numbers, I mean, it's kind of obvious why something like OSHA was so desperately needed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the human cost alone,
Sure, totally.
it was just unacceptable.
Yeah.
And it really pushed for this like unified federal approach to protecting workers, no matter what industry you're in.
Right. So, okay, let's break it down. What exactly is OSHA?
So OSHA, that stands for the Occupational Safety and Health Administration.
Okay.
It's basically part of the U.S. Department of Labor.
Okay.
And its main mission,
Yeah, what to do?
making sure that working conditions are safe and healthy
Yeah.
for like a huge chunk of American workers. We're talking something like 90 million people.
Wow. 90 million.
Yeah, it's the agency behind all those standards that are there to, protect you on the job.
So if you're ever wondering where all those standards come from, it's all actually laid out in this thing called the Code of Federal Regulations,
Okay.
the CFR.
Uh-huh.
And specifically for OSHA, the big one is Title 29, which deals with labor regulations.
Right. And Title 29, it's a pretty massive collection of all sorts of stuff.
Oh, I bet.
But it's organized, they've got titles, chapters, parts, and then like specific sections.
Oh, okay.
So for example, let's say you're looking for the rules about how to store and handle like propane
Propane, okay.
in a general industry setting. You'd find all that under 29 CFR Part 1910, specifically Section 110.
Oh, wow. That's very specific.
Yeah, it's a really detailed roadmap.
So big picture, what were the main goals that OSHA was designed to accomplish?
Well, the OSH Act, it had 4 major aims.
Okay.
First one, getting both employers and employees actively involved in, making workplaces safer, reducing those hazards. Second, keeping track of all those work-related injuries and illnesses. Data is important.
Right.
Third, providing training programs, making people more aware of safety and health on the job.
Makes sense.
And then, fundamentally, they wanted to create and enforce mandatory safety rules
Okay.
for all workplaces
Yeah.
across the board. And the Act also, spells out clearly what employers are responsible for and what you, as an employee, are responsible for when it comes to safety.
So let's unpack that a little bit. What are some of the key responsibilities for, employers and for employees?
So for employers, the big one is what they call the General Duty Clause.
General duty clause, okay.
Basically, they have to provide a workplace that doesn't have any known hazards that could cause, death or serious injury.
Yeah, okay.
And of course, they also have to follow all of those specific OSHA standards.
Right.
For you as an employee, your responsibility is to, stick to those OSHA safety and health rules,
Right.
whatever applies to your specific job.
So these OSHA standards, they didn't just appear out of thin air. Where did they actually come from?
Well, OSHA actually drew from a lot of, existing knowledge and best practices.
Okay.
So that includes National Consensus Standard.
National Consensus Standard.
Yeah, developed by groups like ANSI and NFPA.
Got it.
And then proprietary standards from industry experts, groups like the Compressed Gas Association,
Okay.
and even some, pre-existing federal safety laws that were already in place.
So you hear the terms horizontal and vertical standards thrown around sometimes. What's the difference?
Right. Think of most OSHA standards as horizontal.
Horizontal, okay.
They apply across lots of different industries, like the general industry rules, Part 1910.
Okay.
But then you have vertical standards, which are tailored to very specific industries.
Okay.
Like, for example, the construction safety regulations. That's Part 1926.
Gotcha. So OSHA sets all these rules, but how do they actually make sure people are following them?
Well, that's where inspections come in.
Inspections, right?
OSHA can actually inspect workplaces without giving any notice beforehand
Oh, wow.
to look for hazards and make sure everything is in compliance.
So they just show up.
Pretty much. And they prioritize the most dangerous situations first.
So what does that priority list look like?
Well, at the very top, you've got what they call imminent danger situations.
Imminent danger.
Yeah, where there's an immediate risk of serious harm. Then they investigate any fatalities or really bad injuries that have already happened. After that, it's employee complaints. And then you have, those programmed inspections.
Oh, programmed inspections, okay.
Yeah, they target high-hazard industries.
Makes sense.
And finally, follow-up inspections to make sure any violations they found before have been fixed.
So if they find a violation, what happens?
Well, there are different types of violations, each with its own set of penalties.
Okay.
So for what they call other than serious violations, the penalty can be up to $7,000.
$7,000, okay.
For serious violations, where there's a high risk of someone getting hurt and the employer should have known better, that can also go up to $7,000.
Okay.
Now, willful violations are a whole different ballgame.
Willful, so that's like intentionally.
Yeah, that's when the employer knows they're breaking the rules or just doesn't care about safety. Those can be as high as $70,000.
Wow.
With a minimum of $5,000.
Okay.
But get this. If a willful violation actually leads to someone dying, the fines go way up.
Yeah.
And there's a good chance of criminal charges, too.
So those are some pretty serious consequences.
Yeah. Then you got repeated violations, which can also reach $70,000. And if an employer doesn't fix a violation that they were told about, they can get hit with $7,000 per day for every day they delay.
Oh, wow. Those penalties really show how seriously they take these rules. Does OSHA offer anything to help employers comply and, actually keep workers safe?
Oh, absolutely. They do a lot, actually.
Okay, like what?
So they offer consultation services.
Consultation services.
Yeah, to help businesses figure out where the hazards are and how to improve their safety programs. And often those consultations are free.
Oh, that's nice.
They also have these things called voluntary protection programs.
Voluntary protection programs, okay.
Or VPPs. They're for companies that have a really good track record on safety. They get recognition for that.
Oh, cool.
Plus, OSHA provides a ton of training materials and resources on all sorts of safety topics for both employers and employees.
So at the end of the day, OSHA is really the backbone of workplace safety in the U.S.
Yeah, absolutely. It was born out of this recognition that, those crazy high injury rates from before that just weren't acceptable.
Yeah, that makes you think, What do you see for the future of workplace safety? With all this new technology and the way jobs are changing, how do you think OSHA will adapt?
That's a great question.
That's got to be a tough balancing act, right?
Absolutely. Protecting workers while also keeping in mind the needs of businesses. It'll be really interesting to see how it all evolves.
Yeah, it definitely will. Thanks for joining me today, and thanks to all of you for tuning in.
My pleasure.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.